Hello everybody, how's it okay? Welcome to Wakehurst parkrun. I've actually done the parkrun. It's so wet before start, I didn't do an intro.
Shoe of choice today was my trusty Puma Fast-R 3s, good on the straights, maybe not so good on the bends, and have I ruined him in the rain? I hope not. Quick look on the list of the fastest and slowest parkruns. Where does Wakehurst come? It's a fair way down in 281st place with an average SSS of 2.4 there, so very much a sort of a middle-y one. Okay, so here we are on the line. It was just about dry at this point, but it will get rather wet later on. So I stood back a bit from the first row, but effectively on the second row, and a group of four got away quite quickly. There was a kid at the front there who went off really quickly. I did pull him back a bit later. The guy in the black there, I found out he's from Austria, looks a very good runner. I think he's only just started running, but a very good style. He actually ended up second. So there's a little group of about four that got away. I think at the moment there's four. There's one other that will join them. This guy, Tom Irving, in the Harlequin vest, you'll see a lot of him because I seem to have spent the whole part run just sort of tantalisingly behind him. This was quite a very hilly one. It was basically, I chose it because it was the sort of the most interesting one that I hadn't yet done when I looked on the parkrun map. In terms of interesting, a tarmac course at a nice location that's not too far away. It's about 45 minutes, and the chap there in the red is another chap that we'll see quite a lot of, Michael Lane from Haywards Heath, I think, so he's a local. But you can see I've already slotted in behind Tom. There's a guy in front there with a sort of full range top on. He seems to be almost sort of stuttering, very long strides, and it was quite interesting. I eventually got past him, but he seemed to like spurt. So we took a left turn here. I was wearing the Fast-R 3s, not the best in those turns, I have to say. I did feel like I lost a bit on the turns. So if you've got a course with a lot of turns, maybe the Fast-Rs aren't the best, but I found on the long straights I was going. So here we are after a minute and a half, not a bad start, and I knew this course would be around about a sub 20 minute one if I could possibly do it. I did look on the map before and thought that the course looked slightly short, so the fact that it's very hilly might be slightly offset by the fact that it's a bit up and down. So at this point we're going to try something different. We're going to go to a split screen because basically we did 2 laps of this course more or less, and both laps were kind of somewhat uninteresting. So we'll put on a view at the bottom. We've got the current lap, and the top view is basically the second lap. So if these views look remarkably similar, that's because they are, because as I said, I seem to spend the whole part run behind Tom Irving here, and as you can see, it seems to be getting ever wetter. I seem to be more wetter 10 minutes later, but it was quite interesting to have a look here to see whether the actual paces and the heart rates, how similar they are. Now actually I think I managed to pace this one quite well. I felt like I worked a lot harder on the second lap, and you can see that my pulse there was 5 beats higher, whereas understandably it would be after you run for a fair amount of time, wouldn't it? And I think early on here, this is the kid that went off a bit quickly, and I think I sort of reeled him past him, but I didn't have then too many more people to chase. The guy there you just about see in the distance is Michael Lane there in the red, and you can see this is a bit of a not trying to be a spoiler alert with a spoiler alert. The 2 mile mark came at 13:04, so I did actually do 2 fairly even splits. I think I did 6:31 for the first mile and 6:33, something like that. But it's a bit hard to judge with this course because it's so up and down. On this particular bit, it was a nice swooping downhill. Well, it's slightly confusing by the fact that sometimes the elevation there suggests an uphill bit, but you can see on the map on the far left, it's right at that far left is when you basically turn around and you start to going back up again. But I did feel that the Fast-Rs were quite nice for this swooping bit. I did feel like I was catching people on the downhills, but not much on the ups. So they're right behind Tom Irving here. So in this part run, I was just sort of wanting to have a nice run out. Certainly the completely different vibe to the Mid-Cheshire 5k. A part run's so different, isn't it? And so much more low key. And the fact when you get there and it's raining, so I did a little warm up, not too much of a serious warm up. Did about a mile, a few sort of a minute and a bit at sort of more threshold effort. And if you look down at the bottom, there's this guy in the full rain gear. He's almost like seems to be sort of not able to fully bend his leg, but when he goes around the corner he'll suddenly sort of speed up again. It's almost when he got up to him he would just sort of sprint off. Look there, he just seems to just sprint off. Look at it, it's almost like he's doing a fart leg. Amazing. I've never seen anyone like that do a run like that for a long time. I remember sometimes in a cross country I remember guys doing fart legs, but that's been a while. And here I seem to have, like, on the bottom view early on, seems to have lost a bit of distance tonight. But yeah, I think it's quite handy to have people in front of you. And apologise for the water on the camera, it was very, very wet, and that's partly why I tried this split view, because otherwise I think that your attention would be drawn to the drip feed all the time. So here I am. I think at this point I must have been in, I think, basically 9th place, because there's one guy that comes up from behind, and I think I did eventually get past the blue guys here, so I won't give my time away yet. But as you can see, the Harlequin chap there, Tom, is going into the distance. It turned out that I actually ran against him in the Meon Valley part run back in April, and he did 19:02 to my 20:24. So in that sense, I feel like I've come a long way since that April one, because I think the Meon Valley one was probably a faster course. It's basically out and back along the old railway, not completely flat, but it was not great surface. It wasn't a great day that day, but he took over a minute out of me, whereas on this part run, as you can see, I'm holding in very nicely. And Wakehurst Place is a very nice place. It is managed by Kew Gardens, but there's a joint arrangement with the National Trust as well. So the house is a mansion there. It dates back from 1590, which we'll see some pictures of later on. And parkrun allow you to have, or Wakehurst allow you to have, free parking for the parkrun until 11 o'clock. And they used to have barriers guarding the, well, they do have barriers guarding the car park to Wakehurst, and they were previously down, but it caused such tailbacks that they decided to keep them open. And I think it more makes up for it, because after the park run I went through and had a nice coffee and cake and spent about £10. And you can see here this guy down the earlier view. I'm still struggling to get past him. Every time I sort of think I can get past him, he seems to start speeding up again, and Tom is there dangling in the distance. So left turn here, we're coming up to almost the mile, the first mile down the bottom. What's my first mile? I think I said 6:31, didn't I? So yeah, when I looked at that, I thought, well, that's not too bad. I knew this course isn't going to be the fastest course, and it's one of those days when it's so wet and miserable, you just want to glad to get out and get the run done. And it's probably the first time since the spring where I thought I was starting to get a bit cold, especially afterwards when I did a warm down in the wet. On the top view now is a guy called James Neal. Now he's a under 18 from Worthing. Now I was kind of a bit surprised, because I thought I was trying to make up on Tom, and as it turned out, he seems to go away to the distance, and this guy's given me a clean pair of heels as well. But I think for a while I tried to stay with him, and at the same point the guy earlier on in the full rain gear has gone past me again. As you can see, this was a kind of somewhat amusing part of parkrun, even though it was quite quiet. It was a lot quieter than Egham Orbit the other day. It was being only 2 laps, didn't have too much traffic at the back end, but some of these bends were quite tight to take a turn here, so I'll be going right here. Now I remember this bit being a really steep uphill bit, and I think I struggled a bit on the uphills in relative terms, even though on the first lap here I seem to be catching up Tom. You can see on the later view James seems to be giving me a clean pair of heels, but I think that was late on. I think he's putting his final charge there. So yeah, a bit of twist around these bends, but it would have been a really nice park run to do on a nice warm summer day when it's dry. You'll probably see the flowers in much better light. I think it's one of those cases where you just get this done. I just decided to wear a singlet in this one, thinking that I'm going to get wet. Well, at least with a singlet, all you're going to get wet is the actual singlet and not your arms. But then I made the mistake of doing a warm down still in my singlet, and then got rather cold. Went into the coffee place still in my absolutely soaking shorts, and really so I'm thinking I need to go into the loos and find one of the heater fans to try and warm me up. Now on the left here is the mansion, so we do a nice little loop, basically going right in front of it. So this is coming towards the end of the lap, so at the final point they were coming up to the end of the park run, and the bottom one will obviously come into the first lap. So and the bottom one there, Tom's still in the distance, and then on the next one I can see towards the end Michael Lane has come back into view. So I was thinking, oh, I just need to get going here. And then I suddenly looked at my watch thinking that I've got a chance of a sub 20 here, but I can see the finish. And I knew that the GPS was indicating that it's not going to be a full 5k, but I really did hammer the pace now. If you look at the top, look how much quicker my pace is. So let's go now to a full view of the final bit. Now this is where I'm thinking, where is the end of this course now? At the end of the first lap here, you go to the right and the finish bit is on the left. Michael Lane there in red. Maybe I'm just about catching him, but I think I just will basically run out of ground. So he comes through in 1951. I'm looking at my watch thinking, am I going to get under 20 minutes? I start to see it under 1950, thinking, just need to keep going. I hope I didn't start my watch late. And there I come in 1956. Job done. Didn't realise how close it was up ahead. Michael Lane 8th place 1951. James Neal 7th, also 1951. Tom Irving 6th, 1950. So that was the wettest parkrun that I've done in quite a long time. But yeah, enjoyable. Tough course. Those switchbacks and stuff. But yeah, I think it's slightly very short, but make the most of that. I think I'm just up to the 20 minutes. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting. Like and subscribe to that. See you next one then. Bye.
Thank you.